Hey, beautiful, wonderful fragrance people. I only have like 30% power on my phone. I tried to charge it. That's one reason I'm kind of late. I'm so sorry about the delay, my friends. I am very sorry about that. I was trying to charge up my phone. I actually do have my phone connected up to a external battery or a charger right now, but it doesn't charge very fast. No matter what I do, I need to buy new cable and I need a new phone. I've probably ran the battery out of this phone. It's the model's almost kind of like 2 years old now, and y'all know that a phone that's about 2 years old is kind of almost a dead phone at that point. People still run them. People, replace batteries and all that, but mine's kind of done. I need to get a new one. So, Rich Mitch says hello. Hey, my friend, what's your scent of the day? So, if y'all saw my title, I also wanted to joke about that this day wasn't a bad day in particular, but it was one of those days where, even though nothing terribly bad happened exactly, but things just didn't feel right. So, when I came out here about 6 o'clock, my phone was on low power. I got it up to about 30%, and I was intending to show y'all a new fragrance, but maybe I'll just save that for Instagram. I need to do a full length review, but I do wanna mention or tell y'all that my fragrance that I was gonna showcase to y'all. It did arrive safe and sound. It's called Garuda by, I think you say it's Mad et Lin, or I might be mixing things up. There's Mad Etlin is a different company. Anyways, just search Garuda. Very excited to have it. It has all kinds of notes, and it's exactly what I wanted, and I'm so happy to have it. But it is a little bit daring. It's kind a little bit bold on the cumin and the patchouli, so it might be a little bit too much. It's not a fragrance for everybody. It's not an easygoing, mass appealing aquatic or a blue thing. So Rich says hello again, and scent of the day is Ladano Nero by Tiziano Terenzi, if I remember right. Fantastic choice. So my fragrance of my scent of the day, I sprayed it on this morning. What was it? Kalahari by Nomi Paris, and I tested something else for review. What else? What I sprayed my arm up with. It's not even coming to me. This arm has something else on it. Oh, it was a Mons by Vicanto. Yes, I got my review out. It might be considered more of a summer fragrance, but I will get that review out to y'all. It might be considered a good summer to fall fragrance. It's called a Mons. It's not my favorite thing. It becomes kind of a skin scent. It could have better performance, but it's not bad. It's not a bad fragrance. It's just not something that I connect to. So Jose San, happy to Joe San, sorry. How you doing? Happy to see you. How's the fragrance life going for you? And Cloud Based Scent says scent of the day is Lagerfield Photo. Now I've seen that curious little fragrance before. I forget. I think it was Daniel San, or I saw somebody mention at one point that fragrance. I don't think I've tried it. I tried. I think it's Lagerfield. I tried like the original or something like that. Isn't that the one that was getting pretty popular with the hipsters, and a lot of the vintage fragrance lovers were getting mad like the original Lagerfield, and it has like this amber vanilla leather kind of thing going on. Um, yeah, I tried it. It's a decent fragrance. I'm not in love with it, but I should give it more of a try because it probably changes and transforms on skin after a while. Now that I think about that fragrance, it probably was one of those fragrances where the first 30 minutes might have been a little bit rough, but the magic was in the dry down. So I don't even remember where that sample is anymore, but it's not a terribly expensive fragrance. Maybe I should just buy the so that maybe that should be on my buy list because I do remember the quality being kind of good, but it was a little bit aggressive in the opening. Um, Lagerfield Photo is awesome. Yeah, I don't remember much about Photo. I don't think I've tried that one though. What is Photo all about? A cloud-based sense. I know you got some good fragrances, so thank you for sharing. Awesome, Rich Mitch. Absolutely. So I'll put a post on that. I'll probably showcase if y'all want a quick snippet about Garuda, probably on my Instagram, probably Monday. I'm really loving it. It's exactly what I like in a fragrance. It's rum, patchouli, cumin, all kinds of like leathery nuances and spicy nuances, and it's what I wanted, guys, and I really like it. So I'm happy. I'm really happy, but yeah, cumin just is not a note that everybody connects with. It's got a really bad reputation with some people, just like oud. Now, cumin can be overbearing. Cumin, on depending on skin chemistry or maybe in really high temperatures on some people's skin, can smell body odorish, but it's never smelt that way on me. I've smelled a couple of fragrances with cumin, and maybe it's just really cheap fragrances that come off that way. The higher end cumin fragrances have never smelled that way on me. Authentic cumin spice has smelled like that, cooking wise, like in rice or like or with especially with chicken. It can have like that odd, almost like toe like smell. But I've never actually had, that everybody thinks of cumin and they immediately think body odor. I've never had an actual high end, expensive fragrance smell that way. So, um, y'all tell me your opinions on that. Y'all tell me what you think about cumin. Is it a scary note? Is it too much? Is it odd? Is it weird? Sometimes I tend to like the notes. Some notes that I think that are very wearable, and some people might think are weird. Like I really love cypress, and I really love mate in fragrances. I found that I really like those notes, and I've seen some people who don't like cypress or juniper and things like that, and to them it's very difficult to wear. And to me, it's just it's simple. It's like an almost like an aquatic. It's super easy to wear. So, anyways, enough of my ramblings. Um, anything else y'all been trying? Anything on your radar, fragrance wise? Um, anyways, with me getting this Garuda, I do want to explore the rest of the house, and also, I know this is going to sound funny, but I think it's considered a Paris or a French interpretation of an oud fragrance, and I hadn't really came across that before, and I wasn't confident if there was perhaps a French house that could do oud style fragrance well. I mean, I'm sure that other people have done it before, but I wasn't sure if French style, if you're familiar with it, is a little bit subdued and laid back, and they like to focus on the florals, and it's a lot more almost like cozy and a little bit more reserved, but of course a little bit posh or fancy with the French, Parisian kind of feel. But I didn't know if there was an oud out there that would work, and they did this one right. This can make you come off as like an elegant pirate, and like a dressed up pirate. And I like a fragrance like that. There's one by Javoy. I can never remember how to say it. I think it's in French, but there's also a fragrance that has somewhat similar notes from the House of Javoy, I think it is, that has a little bit of cumin snuck in there as well. And I got to get my nose on that. I've been on a kick. I do want more variety. I do need to explore and find some new things, but I'm kind of focusing on some of the things I really like right now. Some of the smoky fragrances and some of the ambrette and cumin, and I'm kind of doing my own little thing. Some people do that stuff. So awesome. My current favorite frag is Perfumum Roma Confetto. Perfumum Roma does a beautiful job. Wonderful house. It's another one of those really great niche houses that just is not talked about all the time from these big fragrance reviewers. I'm not sure why that is. You do have to blind buy samples or maybe even blind buy fragrances to get your hands on them. Maybe that's one reason why. I don't think they collaborate as much. We do know that some of these houses, like Parfums de Marly, um, no, not Gallivant. What was it? Goldfield and Banks. That's the one I was thinking of. Parfums de Marly, Goldfield and Banks, and a few of these niche houses do collaborate a little bit with fragrance reviewers. So I'm not sure why the reason is, but big fragrance reviewers have not got onto the Perfumum Aroma train, and they have beautiful creations. Their bottles might, for the price, some niche heads might want a fancier bottle. They want something more with the presentation. But I think they're dependable presentations, and what really matters is the juice. I do think that they're good enough, but I do think that maybe some really picky niche heads might want more. But I still think that they're pretty nice bottles, and the juice is what matters. They got performance. They smell beautiful. Perfumum Aroma, good stuff. but I just bought Ristretto Intense Cafe, and I'm in love with that too. You and me got a similar nose on some things. There, my friend. Ristretto Intense Cafe is definitely on my buy list. I like it a lot more than Intense Cafe. I still feel like it's not a bold or overbearing or a powerful coffee. I just feel like the fragrance is more balanced. I feel like the original Intense Cafe by Montal is a little bit more of a rose scent than a coffee scent. It's a charmer. Don't get me wrong, it smells good. But if you were actually expecting coffee, the Ristretto Intense Cafe, if you're really a big coffee head, still might not have enough coffee for you. But I find that it's pretty appropriate and pretty wearable for a coffee scent, and I really like that one. It's quite nice. I don't know if you've seen the fragrance. I've mentioned it a little bit, but check out Boissimo from Solani Hildi. You could go to Lucky Scent and type in the search bar probably Hildi, Hilde, or Fragrantica or some way, and you'll probably be able to find it. It's called Boissimo. It smells like an Italian bistro with some fancy coffee on the side. It has a little bit of that buttery, almost like croissant quality, and it's a charmer. That stuff is nice, and I'm with you. Coffee is one of my favorite things. It's beautiful. So, um, let's see here. Javoy one is Diplomatique. That's not the one I was thinking of, but that is a really good patchouli. Incidence Diplomatique. Really good stuff. Yeah, exactly. Really good stuff. But that's not the one I was thinking of. It has a French name. It has like three words. It's like in joie something. It's not it's one that's not very popular, and it could be possibly discontinued at this point. I still think you can find it some places. Again, there's a lot of these things that I want, and they're kind of slipping out of my grasp. I definitely got to get tons of money to buy them, snap them up. So, anyways, guys, any brands that have been on your horizons? I'm gonna be bringing out, really focusing on a couple houses. I do have some discovery sets, so let me know. You could influence me if one of you loyal 5 people watching right now. You could influence me with which collection to focus on first. But I'm gonna bring out tons of imaginary authors, Joe Malone, and some reviews on some Tom Fords. And I do have some discovery sets and some indies and some odds and ends. But I'm about to start, mixing things up with some actual designers y'all might be more interested in, and focusing a little bit more on my exploration of some of these houses. So I've kind of gotten my head wrapped around Joe Malone and my opinion of them so far, and I've tried most of the imaginary authors now. I tried a few, but now I've tried I think just about every one. There might be one or two that's escaped my nose, but I kind of got my opinion on the House of Imaginary Authors now, and I haven't tried all the Tom Fords. There's some from the past, some that are discontinued and terribly expensive, but I've tried a good number of them now, and yeah, I mean Tom Ford's not. I think a lot of us have a grasp on the house, especially if you've smelled even 4 or 5. But I really understand what the house is about. So let me know which ones are important to you. That's the one. Le joie, la joie, santé, foi, something like that. Sans. That's it. I have a decant of it. It's powerful. Exactly. And I love powerful scents, I'd rather have something really strong and I have to underspray it with like 2 sprays than have something that I have to put on 10 sprays of it. And some people have that kind of, I guess, I don't want to say habit, but tendency to want to feel like they have a good amount of fragrance on. So no matter how strong it is, they always want to put on 10 sprays of it. And I've always kind of wanted to feel like the fragrance is really potent, and I guess it's a mental thing. We're all different people, but I want to feel like it's really strong, and I have to like contain its power. Like I got an elixir, and I got to make sure that I don't do too much with it. It also makes me feel like I got a really good bang for my dollar. If it's super potent, I got a lot for my money, and I know it's going to go a long way. If it's something terribly expensive, again, that's one reason I have a hard time with really expensive aquatics. To get any amount of performance with a lot of them, you still have to put on like 10 sprays, and it was really expensive, and then it doesn't project very well. I mean, price of ingredients are what they are, and creative art, artistry, and but y'all just know that me and expensive aquatics, and that the funny thing is, a lot of designer aquatics, some of them are fine. There are a few good ones, but most of them, I'm not in love with them because I don't think the quality's great. And then the ones that do have good quality are too expensive. We're all funny. You might have some hang up or something that you think is, you might be particular about something. You might not want to pay a lot of money for a citrus fragrance. I would be interested to see how y'all, if y'all have any quirks like that. I mean, I guess I have a few. So, um, anyways, fragrance wise, it's been interesting. I have been exploring those decants and those samples. I've tried a few Guerlains, a few new Hermes. I have a better understanding of the house of Hermes. I would like to. I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. I do really respect the house of Hermes. They do florals wonderfully, but their floral fragrances usually are a little bit more simple, and that does make them a little bit more wearable and perhaps relatable to the average person. But even though I really respect the house of Hermes, I actually, in a way, like the Terre de Hermes line, actually wearing that line, especially Eau Tres Fresh, better than a lot of the Hermes fragrances that I've tried. That might sound sacrilegious. Rocabar still is fantastic. Rocabar Vetiver, and there's a few of them out there, but I guess I just haven't found an expensive Hermes that I really have connected to. That I said I have to have this. This is wonderful. A rhubarb. There's a rhubarb one which is really really fun, but I don't know if I'm in love with any of them in particular. There was a rose grapefruit one, and I gotta test it some more. But that might be one I could be converted to. Um, so good house though, really classic house. And I find it funny that again Byredo and Gallivant are so super super popular, but that Hermes, a lot of their higher end Hermes fragrances are, some of them pop up and they're fairly affordable, and they're also, I think, very wearable. So I find it interesting that Hermes. I don't know why Hermes hasn't got as much of the limelight as it deserves, and maybe it's because some of their fragrances are a little bit linear. Some of them do almost come across as meant to be layered with other fragrances. Some of them don't really. They seem to be like single notes or single ingredients, and I would like to understand, or I need to research or maybe figure out why Hermes does that. And of course, all these brands have their own signature style and way of going about things. But anyways, it's a funny world. It's a funny world. So let's see here. I bought Gallagher Amongst Waves is the only expensive aquatic I like. Yeah, Amongst Waves is an interesting one. It's that one's the one with the melon, isn't it? Isn't it? I think I remember that. But I tried my first one. I tried was Every Storm a Serenade, and I personally did not connect with it. I saw a fragrance reviewer recently who said it was his favorite fragrance of all time, and he loved it. And see, we're all different people. I mean, that's what makes the world go round. And there's 1,000 products for everything, and including fragrance. But I just didn't. I don't know. I didn't connect to Every Storm a Serenade, and I actually kind of made. And I was kind of excited for it too. So it was a letdown. So I kind of. It took me a long time to actually want to revisit the house, and I'm that way. If I look over a house and I don't willy nilly just blind buy a sample. To me, even though it's not a lot of money, if I have to spend sometimes as much as $10 or more, especially if it's an oud, and I investigate the house. I spend some time. I watch some reviews, and then I blind buy a sample. And I don't even remotely like that fragrance at all. It might take me time to come back to the house, and there's a chance I might not come back to the house at all. So, I eventually did get some more samples of imaginary authors, and I do think a little bit more highly of them than Every Storm a Serenade, but I'm still not crazy about the house, honestly. So. Cloud-based scents. I have fond memories of Lagerfield Photo. Recently, I've wanted to pick up the Lagerfield Vetiver. Yeah, I'll have to look into that house a little bit more. I'll have to see if I can't find one that I like. Um, if I remember right, I mean, one of those could be discontinued for all I know. But I remember seeing the regular Lagerfield was still fairly affordable, probably hidden gems. So, um, yeah, definitely check out that house. And there's some of these houses like Caron, the ones that make Yatagan that can fly completely under the radar. And like Yatagan is daring. It's a little bit more unusual, but for the 35 odd dollars, I still think it's available. Last time I looked, it was, and it's one of those fragrances like some of these Cartiers you can get on sale, or some of these Lalique. Like the quality's pretty darn good, and pretty outstanding creativity behind the fragrance. And if you want creativity on a budget, you don't want to spend niche prices. I've said it, and I do want to. Maybe I don't want to put it this way, but I guess start a trend, getting people talk about that you don't have to go to niche for creativity. That there are some really creative flankers and some really under represented and under loved I guess designer releases that are creative and a little bit more unique and well made. And for some reason, because they didn't come out this year or last year, they just they've been forgotten for a while. So some people kind of forget things that and there's so many fragrances that come out. There's fragrances that people forget about just that came out like a year or two ago. So it's it's funny. If the world is a funny place. So I don't know. Fragrance wise, I haven't blind bought a bunch of samples yet, but I do have lots of Lucky Scent samples and so much stuff. I hopefully I can get through my bucket of samples and I can get to a manageable pace. And YouTube wise, we'll see how I keep this up. But I would like to get to a point where I can like review things that come in. I like only review things that come in. I really dislike feeling like I have a backlog, like I have 1,000 things to review, and I don't want to rush. And I also, I guess, worry about pacing things out. Like, should I release fragrance reviews depending on the season? And y'all know that certain reviewing a new popular designer fragrance release gets a lot more clicks than an odd, rare or unusual niche fragrance. But y'all know that I do it for the passion. Anyways, guys, any more thoughts? Any fragrances y'all have gotten yourselves into? I and again, if you want to mark me as guilty, I'm guilty. If you look at that Garuda, it does have oud. Some people might just say it's you, Ben. You just got yourself another oud. You're just an oud man. That's all you do. And I guess I'm a little bit guilty at this point. I like gourmands. I've been doing a lot of gourmands. I've been doing, some things that are a little bit more classically inspired. Not exactly fougères, but I've got into those a little bit. And my gourmands and my ouds, and of course y'all know I like my leathers. So some of y'all might say, Ben, that's all you do. That's all you do. Try Lalique Equus. Trust me, from what I know, you'll like and love it. It's on the cheap. I have tried it. It's actually not for me. Cloud-based scents. No, no. You made a good recommendation. I just don't connect to it. It's a very dry, leathery fragrance. Very almost soapy as well, and in a way, but it's very very dry. It's almost clean, but it also smells a little bit like a barn in a way, and it does have animalics to it. But I do like when fragrances have a little bit of dry quality. Sometimes those are my favorite fragrances, but that one is a little bit too dry and a little bit too animalic for me. I have tried it. I actually blind bought it, and I forget if I did do a review. I think I did a review, but I ended up I got rid of that fragrance actually pretty quickly. I tried to wear it like 2 times, and I said I can't do this stuff. But Lalique is good for if you have a rancher in your life, or if you do want a very very bold but yet kind of clean in a way, leather animalic fragrance. Again, if you have a friend who works around horses, or maybe works around cattle, I think that would be a great cowboy rancher type of fragrance. And it certainly, it doesn't last exactly the longest, but its projection when you first spray it actually is quite strong as well. So it's distinctive, and it's actually pretty darn strong when you first wear it. So um, Gaza scent of the day is Monsaro Blue Oud. Blue Oud. That sounds nice. I have looked at that one. I don't know if I'll buy it. I have Oud Vanille and Amber Fever. And I've been tempted to buy Crazy for Oud, and there's another one. I think it's Oud Violet. I have a lot of people pop in and mention and talk about Oud Violet. I always thought it looked interesting, and now they're getting me to be tempted a little bit by it. I don't know. I'm not gonna own every Mount Sarah fragrance, but I do stand by the house. They are pretty good, especially when you can get them on sale for about $80 or so for a bottle. They're 4 ounce bottles. Most of them have pretty good, or if not actually excellent performance and projection, and a lot of them have a sweet base. They're still not exactly mass appealing, but it is a good start. If you're willing to, step into the world of niche, I think that they're a great way, an easy way to step into niche, especially if you're just into blue fragrances. Cedrop Boise is a great would if you anybody's watching and all you know is blue fragrances and maybe you like a Ventus. Cedrop Boise perhaps would be a great step in that direction if you don't have an awful lot of money and you want something that's likable and wearable and probably will get you some positive attention. So, um, let's see here. Cloud-based Sit says, "Have you tried Voyager by That's Hermes. I I don't know if I've tried exactly that one. I've tried something with a similar name. I have to get back to you. Is that the one with the bottle that can turn upside down inside the bottle? It has like this sleeve that turns upside down, and you could kind of like twist it around 360, I guess, if you wanted to. If that's the one, I can picture the bottle. I have tried that one, and it is a fine fragrance. It actually is kind of a hidden gem. It's very wearable and is actually a great designer release and deserves some attention. Very unisex. I like my Terre d'Hermes a lot more. Y'all know that. Um, for that, I just like it. And if it's more of just like a purely inviting citrus with some vetiver in it, it's kind of hard for me personally to beat Bulgari Man Extreme. And those vetiver wise, at least designer vetiver wise, those two fragrances have really got things down as far as fresher vetivers. I kind of stick to a couple fragrances. I'm not a big collector. Even if it's a great fragrance, that one is a good one, but I uh, I don't like to have a lot of redundancy if I can avoid it, even if they're great. So I'm funny that way. And there's been times where I've smelled a new fragrance and I've been like, darn it, I'm gonna have to sell something. I just told everybody that was an awesome fragrance, and I told everybody it was a masterpiece. But sometimes I come across something new, and I might like it even more. And sometimes I just sell it, even if I make a little bit of a loss on it. I'm a funny person that way. I Again, I know that even with 80 fragrances or so I have in my collection, I might not even get to wear all of those. But I really dislike having the idea in my head that I'll never wear all these fragrances or be able to use all of them, and some of them might go to waste, just because I like to have a pretty bottle or something. It's That bothers me. So, see here is. Hey Ben, hey there Ultra Supra. Happy to see you pop in. Guys, I only have like 30 or so percent power when I started, so I'm not going to be on here the longest. I might be on here for about an hour or so, 30 more minutes. We'll have to see how this goes. But thank y'all so much for popping in. And hey, Ultra Supra, you're awesome. So, Led Zepp says, "Is La Lique Encre Noir Sport a buy? What does it smell like?" It's really nice. If you like Encre Noir, it's I think it would be a pretty safe buy. It's not a safe. It's not a safe blind buy that would be really safe unless you still like inky fragrances. It's still kind of inky, but it mixes some aquatics in. It doesn't perform as well as Encre Noir, and the Encre Noir a la Extreme performs even better than the original, at least for me. So at least it projects better overall, I guess I should say. And So you're getting a little bit less performance. You'll probably get, I've seen some people say as bad as 4. I think it's more of a 5 or 6 hour fragrance, and but the quality's there with Lalique. It's if you want a little bit more of a daring or interesting um, fragrance, that might be good for you. Maybe you like the idea of a zoologist squid, or maybe you liked how zoologist squid smelled, and you want like an affordable alternative. I haven't made a video about that, but I know all kinds of connections to fragrances and things. They're not the same, but if you did like the smell of zoologist squid and you want something cheaper, maybe you just want something that you could wear carefree every day without worrying how much squid by zoologist cost, or how maybe a little bit maybe daring or odd it could be to the average person if you're just trying to be casual. That's it's not a bad buy. It's not a bad fragrance at all. It's a pretty good one. So Encre Noir Sport, pretty good stuff. So hopefully that helped. If you have any more questions, please let me know. Ultra Super says, how close do you think Lalique White is to Parfum de Marly Galloway? Honestly, I have. Sorry about the fighting dogs. Lalique White, I haven't smelled that one, honestly. I've been really tempted to. Y'all might be shocked. It's an outstanding cheapie from what I've heard. I've just, every time I look at the notes and I think about it, I know it's going to be a good fragrance. I know it would be a fine fragrance, but I just don't feel like I need it. Maybe if I have enough money and I'll just buy it to review it. I'm sure it's a very good fragrance for the money, very clean and fresh, and it has some pepper to it. So I can't really compare the two. I'm assuming from what I know of Lalique's quality, that Lalique is actually going to smell classier and just actually might be even be considered a higher quality in a way than the Parfums de Marly. But the Parfums de Marly is going to have its transitions through the fragrance. It's going to be perhaps composed a little bit better. And I think Galloway's a fine fragrance. It is nice, but these days, if somebody was looking into that fragrance, I also would really encourage them to try Bois de Jour by Tom Ford. And there's some of these fragrances that could be considered somewhat similar, and really figure out which one you like. Just don't blind buy into certain ones because certain fragrances are popular. Definitely try out everything and figure out what really works for you. So I've smelled Galloway, but not Lalique White. Exactly. I've smelled Galloway, but I've never smelled Lalique White. And Lalique White is considered a very, very good, affordable fragrance, and I have no doubt that it is. I love the original Lalique Pour Homme. I think it's one of the best values on the market. I've mentioned it a couple of times. It is a little bit more, perhaps, for the gentleman, but you can sometimes find it for $20. I've seen sometimes with the discount codes, and you can get it slightly under $20 for a full size bottle, and that thing smells pretty much like. And again, some people don't like the cliche or the word, but niche quality, outstanding quality, and it smells very clean and professional. It makes you smell like the boss, and it's outstanding juice. Trust me, guys. So, it's Lalique Hommage Voyageur. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, I was thinking of Hermes. There's one that has a similar name, but no, I haven't tried Lalique's Hommage Voyageur. No, I haven't tried that one. Should I try it out? Do you recommend it, cloud-based scents? I haven't tried that one. Ultra Super says, wish Cedroc Boisé was a little bit more spicy. I like it a bit, but it's a tad too rounded for me. Exactly. If you are more into niche fragrances, if you do want something more interesting, Cedroc Boisé is perhaps a good starting point, but over time, or maybe if you want a little bit more creativity, it can come off as too simple. It does come off that way to me, and that's one reason I'm not into pure malt. I do really respect pure malt. It's a really good creation by Mugler, and I've heard it's been reformulated, but for me, I want something. I need there to be something a little bit different to pure malt. I need there to be an extra amount of booziness, something to make the fragrance a little bit extreme, or I need a little bit of leather, or I need something odd thrown in there. I need some like roasted coconut, or throw something unique in there. Throw me some almonds, or I don't know, something a little bit indifferent to spice it and make it more interesting. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes there's really good fragrances on the market, and you're like, why didn't you just add a little bit more of this note, just a little bit more, or just introduce something a little bit of a spin on, into the fragrance, and it would have been a masterpiece. But they have had their intention, and Cedrat Boise is really popular. The perfumer had an intention, and I guess who are we to, I guess, argue with art? Some people would say that, but that, we all have our preferences. But I could not have said it better regarding Mansara. I'm happy that you like how I explain things, and y'all do come here. Again, this is like a free fragrance chat. We talk about anything, and you kind of get to ask your questions and share your scent of the day. So I'm happy that I can have some help people out, and make it worth your time. So thank you. I'm happy to help. Ronald says evening scent of the day is Allure Homme Eau Extreme. That's a fine fragrance. That's a big compliment getter. I don't see it as hyped as it used to be, but it's been pretty highly regarded and pretty highly talked about pretty consistently for a number of years. It's a real popular fragrance, and it does get really nice attention for the ladies. For me personally, that Tonka in the dry down comes off a little bit powdery, and that almost a little bit aquatic nature in the opening almost comes transitions to this light, almost like incensey blue quality to my nose. This might sound really weird, but I am being very specific. But then it kind of comes off as this powdery Tonka, and it morphs and blends into that in the dry down. And y'all know that I'm sensitive to powdery things, and it's a little bit too powdery for my nose, but I do respect the fragrance. It is a big compliment getter. I have tested it, and even though I didn't wear it a lot because I wasn't personally crazy about it, ladies do love that stuff, and I don't know why. I can't tell you why, but if you're a guy looking for positive attention, I don't know how many guys actually bought into that fragrance, even though it's been so popular and so hyped up in the fragrance community for years. It is a little bit more expensive, and I'd be daring to say, I don't think you're going to smell like the X. And if you're a younger guy, especially, and you have the money for that fragrance, it is a little bit more expensive than some of these affordable fragrances or designers that sometimes I or other people talk about. So it's but it would be a solid buy. And if you have the money for giving a gift for your young guy, if you have a son or a nephew, and you want him to have a good time, that stuff would be good. Going to high school or early college, that would be nice. So just sprayed stronger with you intensely. Like it so far. Pretty well balanced between sweet and spicy. I need to get my nose on that. I've always told myself I need to get my nose. I've never seen those fragrances at my local mall. I've always hoped that they would pop into my local mall, but we don't always get everything in, and I don't know if I don't think those fragrances are ever going to come to my local mall. So I might have to end up blind buying samples, but again, I have a hard time forking out money for designer fragrances that, other people perhaps can just smell for free at their mall, and it kind of bothers me, so I don't know. I might just end up blind buying one of them one of these days in the future if I get enough money. So, yeah, blind buys can be risky for your wallet. Exactly. It all depends on what it's worth to you. Some people get an awful lot of excitement out of blind buying. So more power to you. Just be responsible. Don't buy a, don't buy beyond what you can pay back on a credit card. I've bought more than I could pay back and had to pay back on the credit card for a while for like Christmas purchases before, and it's just painful. And then you lose a lot of money on interest. Don't do it, guys. It's not worth it. Keep an eye on things and be responsible. But this fragrances it can be a very expensive hobby, and you see all these people buying left and right $100, $200, $300, $400 fragrances, and like it's nothing. And it can make you feel like you need to buy a $400 fragrance every week. And for some people with their budgets like me, that's just not simply a thing. But more power to the people who can. But yeah, definitely be responsible, my friends. And some people have families and all that. Y'all know that I'm a single guy, but I do try to, I guess, keep a balance of sorts with things. So, ordering a 5 ml sample of Aqua de Parma. How do you say that? G Pro de Sardinia. I have seen that one. I don't remember if I've smelled that one. Hope I like it when it shows. Yeah. The Aqua de Parma line is probably the most mass appealing out of the line. You probably hear a lot about the Colonia line. The Colonia line is great, but that line of fragrances, the core DNA, is more of like a citrus aromatic, almost like with some patchouli and a little bit of green and a little bit of spices. It's almost a little bit Azzaro Pour Homme like. Not the same, but perhaps there's some similarities there. And some people might think that smells gentlemanly, and of course that a little bit of leather as well. So it's I really like the Colonial line, but the Blue Mediterranean line, which that one comes from, that Sardinia fragrance, definitely is the most mass appealing. I don't see it as hyped as much as it once was, but there was a while, and I did support the fragrance as well. It was Fico di Amalfi. It's a fig fragrance, a sparkly, happy, fruity fig, but it is a little bit figgy. And for some people, it might just be a little bit too sweet and figgy. I definitely have respected the fragrance. I think it's beautiful, but because it's so sweet and so fruity with the fig, I even though it's unisex, lots of guys are comfortable with wearing it. I would kind of prefer it more on a lady personally. And then I got 10 a.m. Flirt, which works better for me. It's more wearable for me, even though it has tons of gardenia. I don't know why. People are funny. I'm funny. So I feel I can easily wear, and I feel more comfortable with wearing 10 a.m. Flirt by Kieran NYC than Fico di Amalfi. But beautiful fragrances. I also, a lot of those do hit discounters really well. Sometimes you can find them approaching the $60 mark if you get a really good deal, a steal of a deal. But their full retail, I forget exactly what their full retail is. Those Aqua de Parmas must be 150, maybe even 180 for full retail. So boutique wise, I personally don't think the quality is exactly worth it for the money, but if you do get a good price on them, they are pretty outstanding. I love the Aqua de Parma Colonia Intensa. I got that one a tester bottle with the cap, not sprayed or anything. It wasn't used, but I got it for about $60, and it was an outstanding value, and I'm very happy to have it. And I got to get that review to you guys. It's outstanding juice for sure. So enough about Aqua de Parma. Best Brands perfumes in the house. Oh, I didn't even notice you there, man. If y'all probably already know Best Brands perfumes. He's an awesome guy. Thank you for spending your time and gracing my live with your presence, man. You got your thing going. Love your energy and I love your passion. I know I haven't commented on your videos in a while, man, but Best Brands perfumes. Y'all probably know this guy. He's he helps you find really good affordable fragrances for the money, and he's doing a pretty good job over there. I think you're helping a lot of people. I see that you're doing well over there. So, hey Centaur, my friend, opening a ultra obscure fragrance site. He has had it since 2000, but closed it due to 19. So open again. It's super niche underground style. Okay, you'll have to let me know about that. Opening an ultra obscure fragrance site. Are you keep? Is it like? Is this a special club? I have to have like a special password or a code name to get in here. But anyways, let me know more about it. Y'all know that that I like hearing about new brands and creative people who have creativity, and definitely let me know. I would love to hear more about that. And I know that there's so many new fragrances and so many creative people out there. It's really hard to keep track of all. There's like 1,000. What was it, like 3,000 fragrances that were released last year in total? Um, and some of these are like in small shops and boutiques and places like in Paris and places and there and France and places in like Italy, and it's really hard to keep up. It's so I appreciate the help there. Cloud-based Sense says I blind bought YSL YO Electrique, and boy was that underwhelming. Yeah, I've been attempted to get the YSL YO version, the one with the frosted glass. I suspect that it's going to be kind of boring, but I do like the look of the bottle, and I kind of want to convince myself to like it. And I do want to have a fragrance from every major fragrance brand, but I don't know when I'm going to do that or if I should do that. because it just could be boring. I do really respect Prada El Homme. It's a good soapy fragrance, but I don't think it's exactly special. And it is like a luxury bar of soap fragrance, but it's not anything special. It's almost like a really good entry level fragrance. It's a solid fragrance for somebody who's maybe their first fragrance they ever buy. Or somebody who just doesn't really like to smell particularly unique, but does want to smell a little bit fancy and clean. It's a solid fragrance for that. But if you're deeper into fragrances, if you like anything unique, uh, that Prada El Homme to me, when I smelled it, I just like I had heard so much hype about it, watching top 10 list and all this stuff. I actually kind of kept my expectations down. I think I kept them kind of regular, but it was just boring. And sometimes that happens, and we're all different again. But again, I joke about it. I had the same reaction with Oud for Greatness. If you've smelled anything with any real oud or even higher concentrations of synthetic oud for Greatness is nothing. It ain't nothing. If you've smelled real natural ouds or higher end niche fragrances with oud for Greatness is a oud fragrance for people who don't like oud. It's one of those. It's like Royal Oud by Creed. It's I don't want to throw shade on anybody. More power to you. If anybody likes that fragrance, more power to you. Enjoy your fragrance. Y'all know what I'm all about. But as far as oud goes, it doesn't really smell like oud at all. It has very little of it, and it's like a synthetic, very easygoing, smoothed out oud. And some people might want to joke back and put things back in my face and say my nose is burnt out because of that oud I smell. But I don't even smell the Daring oud. I don't even wear the Daring oud. I can't do that. But guys, really, and that's the thing. Some of these fragrances get hyped, and I'm just sitting over here. I'm like, man, what's going on over here in the fragrance community? What's going on? Ultra Super says, Ben, say some making fragrances exposed to the oxygen, making them stronger, and some say it makes them go rancid by oxidizing them. Which is the truth? You must be talking about a fragrance that you've sprayed in the bottle. There's both of them have elements of truth to them. Let me explain. So if your fragrance is not fully sealed over time, you will get your alcohol to evaporate out of the bottle, which will make your fragrance more concentrated. Yes, that's true. But if that is happening with your fragrance, then your fragrance is also being evaporating out of your bottle and is also exposed to more air and does make your fragrance go bad, and it makes it go bad faster because it's less stable, and there's more chemical reactions that are able to happen because of all that new air and everything in your environment getting into your fragrance bottle. But the element of there that I think people need to consider is that most fragrance bottles are sealed correctly, and I think that there's another aspect that people are thinking of when they're saying some of those things, and it's maturing. If you buy a fragrance house from maybe one of these clone houses in particular, you might have to age the fragrance. And with some fragrances, I have gotten actual full-size sealed bottles, even if they're legit. And it's not that the fragrance smells synthetic or anything when you immediately spray it, but there's something different about it. I've done it before. I sprayed the fragrance a couple times on my hand and my skin. I know what it smells like. And I come back a couple days later, and the fragrance has changed and adapted to what it should smell like. And that's just, I think it does have something to do with the reaction a little bit with the air. And some of that's very true, especially with vanilla. You might have a fragrance that has some real vanilla in it. And if you have a fragrance with some real vanilla, it can actually be a completely clear bottle. But once you spray it, after a little bit of time, it'll start becoming brown. And actually your whole bottle can become like a dark caramel color, like looking like it's cooking vanilla that you would use in baking. So, yeah, there definitely are chemical processes happening. But if you don't really have to worry about it. I don't think people are letting their fragrances air, opening their fragrances to air them or anything funny like that. So, Yeah, if you have a crack in your bottle, or if you know your fragrance isn't sealed very well, you might want to fix that. But for the most part, you don't have to worry about that. I made a video addressing how long fragrances last. Your fragrance is probably going to last longer than you want it to. Your fragrance will probably last 25 years, or maybe more if you store it in the dark, in a cool environment, perhaps in your closet. I store my fragrances in the boxes too, so you know that your fragrances are going to stay fresh. And if your fragrances are starting to perhaps change or alter over time, what you're first really going to notice is probably that the top notes are kind of dissipate because uh, and some florals perhaps as well, especially natural florals. Those are very volatile notes, meaning that they're very reactive and very fleeting. And those are the ones that are gonna, leap out of your bottle, escape, or maybe kind of go bad in the fragrance, perhaps better. I mean, faster than other notes. It's also one reason that certain perfumers don't like those notes at all. They want their fragrances to always be last forever, and they don't want people to ever have to worry about those things. So some perfumers kind of try to avoid natural citrus and florals to some degree if they can, which is very interesting as well. So let me get back to the comments. Sorry about that little bit of a rant. Hopefully that answered your question. Christian O, yes, Christian O is in the house. Best brands perfumes. Very awesome guy here. Matt Strom says, "Have you tried Bacon Tio Cabanel?" No, I have not, but I have really wanted to try their gourmand fragrance. The house looks really nice. The Tio Cabanel, I think it's called Cafe, is their coffee gourmand one, and I really do need to try that fragrance. It looks really, really nice, and need to try that one. It does that. I don't know how you're supposed to say it. The Bacarn. It does look like something that I would enjoy. So great recommendation there. Need to try. Best brands perfume. Hey Christian, absolutely. I'm grateful that he decided to pop in here today. So Richmond says, "What's the big purple thing you got?" Oh, this is just the top to a chair. I'm just leaning on the chair. It's and just playing around, fidgeting. It's just the top to a chair. So don't get any funny ideas. BPC, how you doing? Best Brands Perfume says, "Did you move some bottles this week? Did you move? Did I? I don't know what you mean by that. Oh, you're asking him. I was gonna say like I don't have a fragrance brand where I sell fragrances, but yeah, Best Brands Perfume probably is doing a good job over there, and I probably should do something too. I put a lot of work into this. I put a lot of effort, and I would like to see if I could maybe get something back. Y'all know that I don't really have much of a career right now. I need to figure out something. Y'all know that I'm working on that. So. Let's see here. Hey, hold it right there. Ultra is my trademark. Ultra, don't play with his turf. Anybody tried the new Zara fragrances? I'm looking at True Leather, Amber Fusion, and Boise Soleil, but they are no reviews from anyone. I have not tried those. I am sometimes tempted to buy those, but I always know that there's so many cheapies and so many things that I want to try. Maybe in the future, if I had enough money to play around with, I'd get into Zara. I do know that they're pretty good fragrances for pretty affordable prices, I shouldn't judge them before I've smelled them, but at least at this point, I'm probably, if I would have known about them earlier in my fragrance journey, I would have been more excited to maybe get into them, but I'm probably going to be too picky for them. I have to be honest with y'all. And if I do buy them, they're probably going to be more for reviews, and I probably would end up giving them away. That's just who I am. And y'all know that I don't keep everything. And if I know that I'm not going to be in love with the fragrance, I hate, I don't have all the money in the world, and I hate feeling that I'm going to be throwing my money away. So, Oud for Greatness is a close cousin to Bakar Ouche 540. I agree that it does have a similar composition, but the notes are different. But I do agree that it is funny how similar the compositions are and how similar that they feel. And who knows, with the computer algorithms that people have these days, maybe they have the exact same formula. They have a formula and the algorithm, and it's able to recreate certain fragrances, but you just plug in different notes, and it creates the exact same feel and the composition and everything. And I'm imagining like a slope, like a graph, but you just have different notes plugged into it, and it balances it all out pretty well. I wouldn't be amazed if that's what happened and that's what's going on. It's funny that some brands are able to do that. And if y'all don't know, algorithms are a part of a lot of these corporate fragrance brands. A lot of, not, I would say, I don't know the percentages, I don't know how many are handmade, but if it's a very large, very popular niche house, they might be, some of the fragrances might be initially made by an algorithm. They might be hand finished and hand, tuned, smelled by a perfumer who really does the work, some of the work with finishing the fragrances and really making sure it's perfect. But you know, if you really want that actual made by hand and really the artistry and somebody making, it's called a fragrance organ, where they're sitting in front of all the ingredients, like with like candlelight, the romantic idea of it, and putting in little drops of fragrances and testing things that way. It's you're gonna have to go to some of these really more expensive, like Arige Lador, and higher end people who are handcrafting, kind of like these indie niche houses that are kind of under the radar and not everybody knows about. And a lot of them are also making daring fragrances. They're usually not they're making fragrances more for connoisseurs a lot of the times, not usually mass appealing stuff. So we live in a funny world. We live in a funny world. So um, yes, I actually did notice my Alexandria bottles getting more potent after a while. Exactly. Yes, some of those fragrances, especially with synthetics, they do have to blend. I have noticed that happen with some of these clone houses. And some of the clone houses will outright tell you that you need to wait to either wear it or wait to let the fragrance actually mature. Before a fragrance gets to you, all the notes do have to come together. It's blend with each other, and most brands don't send you a fragrance that hasn't been matured. But some of these clone houses might make it from a batch or a bottle. They might make it to order for you because they might not be such a giant niche house, or maybe there's so much, or a clone house maybe, and maybe they have so much demand. Maybe that's just the way they think is appropriate. Some people think that's fine. So I've seen some people really offended that they buy a fragrance and it's suggested that they wait 2 weeks for their fragrance to smell decent. So, um, see, I haven't tried one single Zara. They don't sell or ship them to my country. Yeah, they do seem to have some limitations as well. Um, I think I can in the USA. I think it's fairly easy to get them, but I feel you there. I've really been really tempted to get Rich Form Addictive. There was tons of hype, and it's still fairly popular, but I don't know if I'll get it anytime soon. We'll have to see. Major Tom says, I noticed fragrances that go bad have celery smell in the top note to me. Yeah, I don't know how volatile or how sensitive the celery note is. That is a very interesting note, and yes, it can go bad. When celery goes bad, that's a really weird kind of note to have going on in the fragrance. Tarragon is also a really weird note like that, and I'm trying to remember what the note is. It might have been one of those. I'm trying to remember. There's a different note. Anyways, the fragrance is called Bois du Dage by Eau d'Italie. I have the fragrance, and it has an interesting note like that, and I really don't want it to go bad. It smells really beautiful, but if something went wrong, it would smell kind of funky. So, Saharov signature is lit. I'm just gonna. I know I saw your signs. I'm just gonna say lit, because I think that's still a popular word, the lingo. So, yes, it is a fine fragrance. It is really nice. It smells like a boss. It's a great office fragrance. It's a great gentlemanly fragrance. Um, I do, when I mention that fragrance, it is a good one. Don't get me wrong, but I do try to mention it the way I smell it, and I think that a lot of people do smell it. But a lot of fragrance reviewers, perhaps they don't want to say it this way because they think it might be taken as negative, or maybe they think they're critiquing the fragrance. To me, it's a fine fragrance. It's very complex, but to me, it's more of a soapy fragrance with a lot of lavender and a very not a very inoffensive, but it does have presence, but it does have oud. And there are other notes and there are other accords with Zaharoff's signature. It's a fine fragrance, but don't. But if you are looking into that, I do want to give you the right image and the right idea about that fragrance. It's a soapy lavender oud fragrance. That's the big main accords to my notes out of that fragrance, and that might encourage for some of y'all to get into fragrance, and that might discourage some of y'all to get into that fragrance. And I still think it's good. I still think it's a good fragrance, but I'm not trying to throw shade on other fragrance reviewers, but I do wish that they would, maybe really simply describe the fragrance with some of its main notes. I'm not sure if they're afraid to say lavender because some people don't say like lavender or something like that. It is an interesting lavender. It's more on the blue lavender side of things, and there are a good amount of naturals in it as well. But yeah, anyways, that's all I'll say about that fragrance. It's a good office fragrance. It does lean a little bit mature as well. So I do want to put that out there, but it is a solid fragrance, very well done. And if you want, something that remind you of the powerhouse fragrances, perhaps of the '90s, it might do you very well. So, your Led Zepp says your knowledge of fragrance is unmatched. In so much as the ability to describe and convey what the fragrance smells like. Most reviewers just read Fragrantica descriptions, and that is boring. I do agree. It all takes time. I don't want to act like I'm the best fragrance reviewer. I do have experience, and I don't want to call myself an expert. But I've had people call me an expert. I've had some people call me a master. But I think that's quite of a bold thing to say. I don't know if I would dare to, go to a perfumer or talk to a fragrance brand or even talk to other fragrance lovers like you. I don't think I'm confident, and or maybe I should look at myself in a higher regard. But I don't consider myself a master. I'm not a perfumer, so I don't think I could ever say anything like that. At least I'm not a perfumer yet. But thank you for that big compliment. It's very humbling. I really appreciate it. I put a lot of work into it. I spend a lot of time smelling fragrances every day. I think about fragrances almost all the time. And I've been putting out, again, a fragrance review just about every day for almost a year. And to kind of get through some older videos for about 2 weeks now, I slowed down the last couple days, but for almost 2 weeks, I put out 2 videos a day. So I think I'm going to try to slow it down to maybe 3 videos a week, maybe 4, something like that. And I'm going to try to, have a better balance. I will have a tiny bit of top 10s, not a lot, but maybe I'll do one a week. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not going to become a top 10er, but I do want to give you all better balance of what you want. I know that a lot of people actually like top 10s, and that's what they want. I've had people beg me for them. They tell me, Ben, where are your top 10s? And to me, understanding fragrances on a deeper level is important. And when I want to make a purchase, when I want to, actually get excited about a fragrance, I want more of the details. Watching a top 10 list usually doesn't get me excited. I might say, "Oh, that sounds like it could be good," and then I'll go to like Fragrantica, or I'll go and look up the fragrance, or I'll, hope, especially if a brand has a video made about the fragrance or some kind of presentation. Even though some of them are very corny, I do like, investigating the fragrance. 30 seconds, 45 seconds on a fragrance is not enough to really help people make a purchase. But maybe everybody's different. People are watching these top 10s, so it must be working. It must be doing something for somebody. So, anyways, thank you so much. I am humbled by your comment. Ultra Super says, cloud-based scents, that's supposed to be the barbershop scent, but what do you think it's close to? It's a barbershop shaving cream style, but it's modernized. It doesn't smell grandpa. Exactly, it doesn't smell old-fashioned. You're very right. Zaharoff Signature does not smell old-fashioned. It does smell more modern. It does have a classic type of DNA, but classic, when I say classic, I don't mean old. When I say classic, I kind of mean something that smells timeless. And, I think that that's a very positive thing. So, definitely, it's not vintage smelling at all. So, Ultra Super says, Ben, I know you get a lot of vial decants. How long are they on you before they? How long do they last before they go bad? Vials are really funny. You'd really, in a vial you could have 1 mils or 2 mils or three, something like that. Longevity of the fragrance really depends. The longevity of the fragrance on you really depends on the fragrance itself, and it's really hard to measure because you really can't control. You don't have a measurement. Even if you don't know exactly how much the sprayer, your little vial is spraying, you do know what a spray does, and you can kind of guess that 2 or 3 sprays from a sample vial. Some of those good sample vials are actually like 2 sprays to a regular spray of a bottle. So it's really hard to know, but they haven't gone bad on me. I keep them in a box. I keep them in my room. I keep them out of the sun and air conditioning. And I haven't really had anything go bad on me. I did buy a vintage bottle of Aqua di Gio one time, and it started smelling kind of vinegary, which vintage bottles can do. And also, it was really funny because you can notice a little bit more, almost like an oak moss kind of vibe that came through. It was original. It was originally sealed in the bottle, and it was very vintage. I don't know if it had been stored correctly. I ended up giving it away, but I don't know. That's about the only fragrance I've ever had that was bad, but I bought it and it was already bad. So that was a very funny experience. It was sealed in the bottle, and it was a legit fragrance, but it was bad. And I almost wanted to return it to the guy, but it was a vintage fragrance, and I guess I don't know. I don't know what I should have done in that, because I opened it. It was legit. It was 100%. And I'll probably I don't think I'll ever buy anything particularly vintage. Maybe something discontinued, but I'm not a big vintage person particularly anyways. So, Ben, I know you have already read that. Cloud-based scents, just because a barbershop doesn't mean it smells like Gramps. Lol. Exactly. You're exactly right, Ultra Supra. But cloud-based scents, he was just saying that because a lot of people get that in their head. Some people associate that connection. Fougères can't smell modern. I think Eau Sauvage is still a classic. Still, anybody can wear it. It does perhaps lean a little bit classic, gentlemanly. I think Platinum Egoist is pretty easy to wear. It doesn't smell outdated or anything like that. And there's a number of these fragrances that are really, really nice. And I do think that that style of DNA or style of fragrances, especially with the patchouli ones, I really like those. Like I have Balda Serini Cologne Intense, and I need to do. I don't think I've done a review on that one yet, but I really need to. I really like that stuff. It's quite good. And David off Zeno, y'all know I mentioned that a little bit. So Sebastian calls himself an expert. Lol. I thought, wow, this guy is humble. The Sebastian is really, has a lot of knowledge, and he has an amazing channel, and he pulls out. It almost looks like he pulls out. It must be 200 or 300 niche fragrances out a month on his channel. I don't know if he owns all of these fragrances. I think some people might think it's not, I don't know, cultured, or might not be a good thing to call yourself an expert, but this guy has smelled, I don't know how many. He must have smelled over 1,000 niche fragrances, if not more. He understands fragrances pretty darn well, and he talks and has connections with fragrance critics and fragrance editors at like Saffler Ball. So Sebastian knows a lot. He probably talks to perfumers. I don't know all the details, but yeah, he's there. We got some seriously knowledgeable guys in the fragrance community. Some of these guys might not know so much, but some of these guys, hey, they definitely got some serious knowledge going on. So I'm not beating up on Sebastian. I do know what you're saying there. Culturally, to some people, that might not be couth or might not be appropriate, but He's awesome. We also, again, I'm not throwing shade, but there's also somebody else in the fragrance community who I actually respect pretty well. But he calls himself the fragrance guru. So, hey, we're what about that? Anyways, I enjoyed this live. I hope to catch you next live. Gotta go. Have a beautiful day, Gaza. Have a wonderful one. I know that you have to go. I know people have places to go, places to be. It's a Saturday. You probably have friends or family or something to do. But my friends, I'm probably going to wrap this up soon. I'm going to get to the comments, but I probably should go soon. But thank you so much for popping by, Gaza. It was awesome to have you pop in here. Sorry, I almost have like this thing where I want to cough, but said he really said that. I know he's got over 3,000 bottles. I bet he does, and a lot of them are niche. He probably has over $500,000 in fragrances, and probably has smelled a lot more. So he, more kudos and more power to these guys. I don't think you can get a certificate, but he is an expert. I do think he can say that. I wore Van Cleef and Arpels Pour Homme yesterday, and it didn't smell dated at all, and it came from out in 1978. I completely agree with you. Most fragrances, to me, don't smell outdated. Most things that I've smelled never come across that way. I have smelled some really older fragrances, Chypres, things that are very sensually animalic and deep on the oak moss, and some of those maybe really deep animalic amber fragrances. I've smelled some things like that, but they were intentionally trying to be very, very vintage, like very, very classic. Like for example, I personally would not wear Shalimar personally, but I know a lot of people love that fragrance and they respect it. But for me personally, I mean, not only am I not, it's not my personal favorite fragrance, but it does smell almost like another era. But I do respect people who wear it. And actually, Shalimar Souffle EDP, which is like a flanker of a flanker, actually smells pretty modern and pretty darn good. It's actually really different from the original DNA. So that's a funny thing to mention as well. But anyways, let's see here. I need to try that one. I don't remember if I've tried Van Cleef & Arpels Homme. If y'all don't know, Van Cleef & Arpels fragrances does have a niche kind of line, which are supposedly pretty good. And some of them are on FragranceNet and some of these places, and very reasonable prices, sometimes about $80 a bottle, and and a really good discount, a lot more affordable than what they were at the boutiques. So save a lot of money, and some of them are really nice. So you could definitely look into those guys. They might be really nice. There really are some timeless scents. I agree. Some fragrances I don't think are ever going to smell dated. Some people really don't like the popularity of Dior Fahrenheit. I don't know if I would wear Dior Fahrenheit, but I heavily respect it, and I don't think it smells dated at all. Dior Fahrenheit is still a fragrance. If I wear it, smelled somebody walking past me, I would not think it smells like the 70s or something. I would say that man smells assertive, bold, and he smells darn good. Dior Fahrenheit still has it in my opinion. So Led Zepp says, I believe that one should never apply perfume using the fingers or body, using a surface, because bacteria will grow in the liquid and ruin the fragrance. I really don't know much about bacteria affecting fragrances, but how do you feel about roll-ons? Like when if I smell or use anything from a sample vial, I'll usually, I don't try to get my, fingers to contact the fragrance. Y'all know that we try to limit that, but I guess you can't completely avoid it. But yeah, that's a funny discussion. Do you dislike fragrance oils like roll-ons? Because those get in contact with your skin, and I guess they could, quote unquote, contact or the whole fragrance. I don't think bacteria is a big of an issue, but I could be wrong. Maybe there is some fragrance that likes to eat or mess with fragrance, notes. But in my experience, there's a lot of alcohol in fragrances, and there's a lot of notes. I don't know. I mean, I guess there's bacteria in everything, but I've never heard of bacteria ruining fragrances. But that could be true. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just really don't know anything about that. So I've never seen or heard anybody say that's an issue before. So. Anyways, guys, It's been an hour and 15. Do y'all have any more thoughts, any more opinions before we go? 7 people are still here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's been an awesome evening. If you feel like you're ready to go, it'd be fine. And we've had a great discussion. I really do appreciate all of you wonderful people hanging out with me, having fun. Also, if you do want to see more of me, I'm very active on Instagram as well. People on Instagram seem to like me more than they do on YouTube. YouTube is an algorithm, and I don't play the algorithm game for the clicks with the popular videos and the really popular designer releases and the top 10 videos and that kind of game. So YouTube doesn't like me as much, but Instagram is a little bit nice. And if you are a niche fragrance lover, and that's more of your thing, Fragrantica is a wonderful place, and of course Instagram. There's great people everywhere, but there's still a place for you, and there's still family for you. So don't feel like you're alone. So Ben, I know your battery is all about gone. It's another great live chat. Hope you have a great evening. I'll catch you later. Absolutely. I guess I'll go, but thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. It was a wonderful live. We had a good time. Y'all are some wonderful people. Thank y'all for making a very good conversations and very good chats. Hopefully you had some fun. You learned something a little bit new, and we all, came closer together as a fragrance family. So thank y'all for being a little part of my, corner of the fragrance YouTube world, and thank y'all for, hanging out with me. So have a beautiful weekend, everybody. Cook some amazing food, use those spices, smell the spices, have a good time with that. Spend time with friends or family as much as you can. Skype if you have to. People are worried about being safe, so Skype somebody. If you haven't talked to somebody important in your life, pull up that phone and Skype them. Why don't you? And say hello. And, enjoy that wonderful food once again. Take it easy. Be safe out there. The world's kind of crazy. Be safe. Protect, the people who matter to you. And I'll see y'all next time, everybody. Stay safe, stay well, be smelling awesome. I know that you will. And I'll see you next time. Major Tom says, you're the man, Ben. Always enjoy your thoughts and expertise. Well, I appreciate you, everybody. I'll see you next time. Stay safe, everybody, and stay beautiful. Until next time, peace out, and I'll see you Monday. Bye.